Moren Wilson, a 62-year-old woman, has dedicated her life to caring for her two Labradors, Sadie and Bella. She treats them like her children and believes they could never do anything to harm her. However, Moren was left speechless when her dog's behavior took an unexpected turn. In the quiet Florida suburb of St. John's, Jacksonville, residents have always felt safe. With its small, tight-knit community and low crime rates, people rarely worry about anything out of the ordinary. Sadie and Bella, the two well-known Labradors, were beloved by everyone in the neighborhood. They were playful, friendly, and always seemed to bring joy to those around them. Yet, as much as the community adored the dogs, things were about to take an uncomfortable twist. Behind their adorable exteriors, Sadie and Bella were planning something unexpected, a prank that would leave the neighborhood unsettled. Moren, who had always trusted her Labradors completely, was about to witness behavior from her beloved pets that would shock her and the community alike. It was a reminder that even the most trusted companions can sometimes surprise us in ways we never imagined. Since they were puppies, Moren Wilson had cared for her two Labradors, Sadie and Bella, showering them with love and affection. Now 62 years old, Moren lived with her grandson, Tyler, in the quiet Florida suburb of St. John's, Jacksonville. However, on the day everything changed, Moren was home alone. It started out as an ordinary day. She fed Sadie and Bella their breakfast, went about her usual routine, and was preparing to take a bath, waiting for the water to warm up. Little did she know, her peaceful morning was about to take a dramatic turn. Meanwhile, Moren's neighbor, Alexandria, had decided to break away from her usual routine that morning as well. She wanted to savor her coffee while enjoying the view of her garden, a rare moment of tranquility in her otherwise busy day. As she settled in her chair, sipping her coffee, she noticed something odd. Moren's house, which usually exuded peace and calm, suddenly seemed off. Shortly after Moren had taken her bath, her security camera captured an unsettling image, and the atmosphere in the area shifted. What had started as a calm morning began to feel ominous. St. John's had always been a peaceful neighborhood. With low crime rates and friendly neighbors, it was the kind of place where nobody ever felt the need for high walls or fences around their homes. Safety had never been a concern until that day. Alexandria had always enjoyed the openness of her garden, but now, as she gazed out at it, she began to question whether a fence might have been a good idea. As Alexandria sat outside, feeling the cool December breeze, something startling caught her eye. Two large dogs were suddenly racing into her garden, barking loudly. Her peaceful morning was shattered in an instant. Though she couldn't immediately identify the dogs, she was overwhelmed by a sense of fear as their aggressive barking echoed through the air. The dogs seemed agitated, running wildly through her yard, their behavior erratic and unsettling. Alexandria, unsure of what was happening, stood frozen in place. Although she had seen Sadie and Bella around the neighborhood many times before, they had never acted like this. Their sudden aggression left her both confused and terrified. Meanwhile, inside her home, Moren remained blissfully unaware of the chaos unfolding just a few doors down. What had been an ordinary day for her was rapidly spiraling into something far more disturbing. The Labradors she had raised and loved were now causing panic in the neighborhood, and the peaceful illusion of St. John's was quickly being stripped away. Moren's security camera captured Sadie and Bella behaving strangely. After barking loudly inside the house, the two Labradors managed to open the front door and dash outside, racing across the yard. It was they who arrived in Alexandria's garden, barking urgently and loudly. I had changed my routine that morning, Alexandria recalled. While sipping my coffee, I saw Sadie outside, and shortly after, the second dog started barking. Initially, Alexandria was too frightened to step into her garden, confused by the dog's unusual behavior. Their loud howling and frantic movements made her think they might pose a threat. She was genuinely terrified, unsure of why the dogs, usually friendly, now seemed so agitated. What Alexandria didn't realize at first was that Sadie and Bella weren't there to harm her. They were seeking help for something far more serious than she could have imagined. After a moment of hesitation, Alexandria gathered her courage. She decided to confront the dogs and understand what was going on. She dropped her coffee cup and hurried downstairs, her heart racing with each step. Doubts filled her mind as she wondered whether she was putting herself in danger. As soon as she reached the garden, the dogs began tugging at her pants, not in aggression, but as if trying to guide her somewhere. It was then that Alexandria realized the dogs weren't trying to frighten her. They were afraid themselves. They were desperately trying to show her something they had witnessed, something extraordinary. Alexandria decided to return Sadie and Bella to their home after realizing they belonged to her neighbor Moren. However, as she began walking in that direction, she quickly noticed that the two labradors were already ahead of her, eagerly leading the way. They glanced back frequently to ensure she was following them, as if urging her to keep up. Their behavior seemed more urgent than she had initially thought. When they arrived at Moren's residence, Alexandria rang the doorbell, expecting Moren to come to the door and settle the odd situation. What she didn't realize was that everything was being captured on Moren's security cameras, creating a visual record of the strange events unfolding that day. Despite ringing the bell several times, there was no answer from inside. Each time she pressed the button, the dog's barking grew louder and more insistent, increasing Alexandria's anxiety. Her initial confusion quickly shifted to fear. Why wasn't Moren answering? She knew Moren was typically home at this time, and the absence of any response felt increasingly unsettling. Sadie and Bella, far from calming down, barked even louder, as if trying to communicate something urgent to her. Alexandria's heart raced and unsettling thoughts began to creep into her mind. What could possibly be happening on the other side of that door? Why wasn't Moren responding? As the moments stretched out, Alexandria's mind spiraled with dark possibilities. Could something have happened to Moren? The dog's frantic behavior and the eerie silence inside the house only deepened her unease. She rang the bell again, pressing harder this time, hoping to elicit some response. But still, nothing. Her thoughts ran wild with worst-case scenarios. She imagined Moren injured or in danger, unable to call for help. The usually quiet and peaceful neighborhood now felt ominous, the air thick with uncertainty. The dogs, normally friendly and playful, were behaving unlike anything she had seen before, their barks filled with an urgency that sent shivers down her spine. Finally, the eerie silence inside the house, combined with the dog's increasingly frantic barking, pushed Alexandria to take action. She knew something was wrong, but she couldn't bring herself to leave without knowing what had happened to Moren. Her hands trembled as she weighed her options. Should she try the door? Should she call for help? With her heart pounding and her fear mounting, Alexandria realized that the situation was far more serious than she had initially thought. Whatever had unfolded behind that door, it was clear that Sadie and Bella were trying to tell her something, and she couldn't ignore them any longer. What if the dogs had harmed Moren? Or worse, what if someone else inside the house had hurt her? These thoughts raced through Alexandria's mind as she hesitated at the door. Typically, in situations like this, fear would drive anyone to call for help immediately, but Alexandria was too overwhelmed to think clearly. The room inside was dim, with heavy drapes drawn tightly shut, making it difficult for Alexandria to see anything at first. As her eyes struggled to adjust to the darkness, her heart pounded louder with every step. The tension in the air felt suffocating as she slowly approached the bed, dread building with each movement. When she looked more closely, she saw Moren lying motionless on top of the bed, her body slumped in an unnatural position. Panic gripped Alexandria as she gasped at the sight, unsure of what she was about to discover next. Mustering her courage, she softly called out, "Moren," but there was no response. Fear surged through her as she reached out and gently touched Moren's shoulder, hoping to wake her. The moment Alexandria's hand made contact, she recoiled in terror, Moren wasn't moving at all. For a moment, she feared the worst. She let out a startled cry, her voice breaking the heavy silence in the room. Suddenly, Moren stirred, letting out a low, pained groan. She lifted her head just slightly, her face contorted with agony. Her eyes met Alexandria's, silently pleading for help. Something was terribly wrong. Moren was struggling to speak, her mouth hanging open, but no words came out. Alexandria realized with horror that Moren was in serious distress, and she needed help immediately. Alexandria quickly dialed 911, realizing that Moren was in serious trouble and needed immediate medical help. Her fear grew as she looked at Moren, who was barely responsive and clearly struggling. The only thought running through her mind was to get help as fast as possible. After paramedics arrived and examined Moren, they explained that she had been suffering from a lack of oxygen to her brain. The doctors later confirmed that had there been even a slight delay, Moren might not have survived. Reflecting on the situation, Alexandria felt a wave of guilt. She had initially believed that Sadie and Bella were acting aggressively, either toward her or even toward Moren. But the truth was the complete opposite. The dogs had been desperately trying to get help for their owner. They had sensed something was wrong and had gone above and beyond to assist Moren. When the St. Johns County Rescue Team arrived minutes later, Sadie and Bella stayed loyally by Moren's side, refusing to leave even as she was carried away to the ambulance. Their howls of distress echoed through the neighborhood as if they, too, understood the gravity of the situation. Moren was rushed to the hospital, where she was treated, but her condition remained critical. Interventional neurologist Dr. Maddie Green explained, when the brain is deprived of blood, cells die, and permanent brain damage can occur. Timing is everything. In this case, timing truly was everything, and Sadie and Bella had played a crucial role in ensuring help arrived in time. Though the future was uncertain, the quick response from Alexandria and the dogs had given Moren a fighting chance. Dr. Abraham further emphasized, one of the most important factors in these cases is to get the blood vessel open quickly and successfully. Moren was now in the hands of skilled doctors, but it was undeniable that without Sadie and Bella's loyal intervention, she might not have made it to the hospital in time. Doctors successfully removed the blood clot that caused Moren's stroke by guiding a stent retriever from her femoral artery to her neck. Helping patients like Mrs. Wilson is one of the proudest moments of our work, said Dr. Abraham. The team at Beth Medical Center Jacksonville removed the clot, and remarkably, Moren began to regain her strength shortly after the procedure. Within just 3 days, she was well enough to be discharged from the hospital. Moren Wilson owed her life to her loyal dogs, Bella and Sadie. Their extraordinary actions had gone far beyond what anyone could have expected. Without their quick thinking and determination, Moren could barely fathom what her fate might have been. The two liberators had sensed something was terribly wrong and knew exactly what to do. They ran for help, finding their neighbor Alexandria and leading her back to the house, ultimately saving Moren's life. Reflecting on the terrifying ordeal, Moren expressed her immense gratitude. "I'm fortunate I don't have any lasting effects," she said. "I'm grateful to Dr. Maddie and the staff for their help, but it was Bella and Sadie who made it all possible." Moren understood that while the medical team had provided the critical care she needed, her dogs were the true heroes. "Had it not been for my dogs going and getting my neighbor, I wouldn't be here today." Moren had suffered a stroke, and time was of the essence. After Alexandria called 911, paramedics quickly arrived and rushed Moren to the hospital. The doctors discovered a blood clot in her brain that had caused the stroke and immediately took action. Using advanced technology, they successfully removed the clot by guiding a stent retriever from her femoral artery to her neck, restoring blood flow to her brain. Dr. Abraham, one of the lead surgeons at Beth Medical Center Jacksonville, reflected on the operation. "Helping patients like Mrs. Wilson is one of the proudest moments of our work." Remarkably, Moren began to recover almost immediately after the procedure. Within 3 days, she was strong enough to be discharged from the hospital. Her recovery amazed both the medical team and her neighbors, who had anxiously awaited news. "I had a wonderful rescue from both the neighborhood and the hospital," Moren said, grateful for the swift action of both Alexandria and the doctors. "I had an angel across the way. I'm fortunate." Bella and Sadie's actions had proven just how strong the bond between humans and their pets can be. They had acted not just as loyal companions, but as protectors, sensing their owner's distress and taking matters into their own paws. Their quick thinking ensured that help arrived in time, giving Moren the chance to receive the life-saving care she needed. Without them, the outcome could have been very different. The entire neighborhood was overjoyed with the outcome, knowing that the combination of medical expertise and the remarkable loyalty of 2 dogs had saved Moren's life. Bella and Sadie were hailed as local heroes, their extraordinary actions a testament to the deep connection between humans and their pets.